morning, everyone. Thanks for being here on a Saturday morning and taking out this time. Thank you, Red Architects, for having us here today. And thank you, Amishi, for having me. I'm Anant Ahuja, also known as Type Thug. Stupid name, but I chose it in college. Been it since then. I'm 32 years old. My pronouns are he and him. I'm the co-founder and managing partner at Irregulars Alliance. I grew up in this sweet little corner of West Delhi called Rajouri Garden. You guys must have heard of it, made fun of it in some movies. But I loved it. I also had a major identity crisis because I grew up amongst Sikhs and Punjabis. I am a Punjabi, but the major identity crisis was from a visual point of view because I didn't wear a turban and everybody around me had one. So it was really weird. To add to that complex, I was really bad at math. My parents told me, and my teachers, that you will never amount to anything in your life if you don't study math. We'll come back to this at some point. But during this time, I had to realize that I will have to endure this life and get through, power through somehow. So, the Oxford Dictionary definition of endurance is the ability to continue doing something painful or difficult for a long period of time without complaining. And that's Anant in 2012. It's weird talking about yourself in third person. Fairly hairy, traveling across New Zealand, exploring, finding himself, and that's Anant in lockdown, fully bald, enduring the sun, trying to get some push-up gains. So I've endured all right. Here is a small career timeline and the stupid shit that I've had to endure in this timeline. There is more meaty, juicy things to this timeline. I'm going to fill you in what happened before 2012 and in between these years. So 2009, my parents, as Punjabi parents want their son to be in Canada, were like, please go to Canada. My visa didn't come through. And then they were like, okay, there is a design school in New Zealand which you might be good at because you can draw at the back of your notebooks. You must try. And so I did, like the diligent son must. I was shipped off to New Zealand to study design. I had no idea what design was. But I did all right. I did 3 years at Wanganui School of Design, which is a very small town. Wanganui is a small town in New Zealand. I did fairly well because I had no other option. But I came back. I graduated in 2012 and I came back because I had to stick it to the old man. And I was like, fuck you, I can do it. Sorry, I'm going to use some expletives. Please excuse my language. That's how I talk. So yeah, 2012, graduated, came back to Delhi, started working with an ad agency, worked at a SaaS startup, did their branding, worked my way into the world of graphic design, met a bunch of people. 2014 is when I decided, okay, this is the time to be starting your entrepreneurial journey. And I started my first company called Inchwork at the age of 23. Failed miserably, tanked. In 2 years, I was out, down and out. Didn't know how to run a business, but best, worst 2 years of my life, I have to say. Cut to 2016, moved to Bombay. So hey, I have lived in Bombay, if that counts. 2016, moved to Mumbai, did some amazing work, met some really cool people, switched careers. I was like, I don't want to be a graphic designer anymore. I want to do some creative production and also be a part-time model because I was like, I'm fit. I can work out. Maybe I look good in front of the camera. Didn't really work that well either. Was running back on credit card bills. So had to fix the credit score, moved back to Delhi. Started working with Times Bridge, which is the international investment arm of Times Group. Fired in 6 months because I overspent on a project that I wasn't supposed to. So hey, shit happens, you move on. 2018, sad and depressed, didn't really know what to do with my life. A friend from Singapore reached out. His name is Avid Lathander, side guy. I am the main guy in the story, okay? So I had co-founded the Irregulars Alliance in principle. The name didn't exist, but we started the Irregulars Art Fair, Tarini and I, who also happens to be my partner. And Bakheda Studios with Avid Lathander, which is now called Irregular Studios. I'll get to the whole story, but this is just of key milestones that I've had. A decade of entrepreneurship has led to some pretty sweet outtakes, and I'm going to go over these outtakes with you, all of you. Don't bother reading that paragraph, that's just there for vanity's sake. Lesson number 1, start where you are, use what you have, do what you can. It's a quote that I got off the internet. I haven't written it. Some famous tennis player did it, and I loved it. I was like, why not? Pick it up. This is the design manifesto that I created when I was in 2000, in final year in 2012 at design school. Silk screen printed posters, but that's not what we're talking about. We're talking about the lesson: start where you are, use what you have, do what you can. I haven't really thought about it since I made this, but this has been applied to all the major life decisions that I've taken since. And one of the biggest one being the 2019 Irregulars Art Fair. We were completely broke. So we started where we were, which is renting out an old abandoned factory because that's the only thing that we could afford, and sell a Honda Brio that I had bought with the earnings that I made in my first company. And it sold for 2.5 lakhs just for metrics. Could have sold it for more because till date I get these messages that you can sell it for 2.1 lakhs. Broke a bunch of other savings accounts, but hey, it happened. So yeah, this was the Irregulars Art Fair 2019 in its full glory. Look at these people having a great time. Nobody knows what I sold or what I went through, what I endured, but the point was that let's do something while we can, if we have the resources to. 2020, the pandemic hit, so we haven't really had the mojo to bring it back again, but hopefully we'll bring it back up. Lesson number 2, fuck luck. I am probably the most unluckiest shit to have ever existed. And I say that because it took me 4 failed startups to realize that it's not luck what gets you the work, it's the hard work, the intent, and the consistency that you bring to your work. And that's what you need. You cannot rely on just luck. Lucky, you can be lucky once, twice, thrice, but after that, it's just showing up day in and day out. And I can say that I'm lucky enough to have worked on some really cool brand pieces from India and around the world. Be a fucking optimist. This artwork, the lettering piece, is by this artist, F. Dot. He has a fucking amazing story about why he made this. But again, I'm the protagonist. He's not. We'll talk about me, not him. You can look him up. Okay. This guy here. These are some news clippings that I have from different times of my career trajectory. So this one here is an article from a magazine that says that Inchwork was doing exceptionally well. We grew a team from 2 to 8, had amazing cash flows, but a year and a half into it, it was tanking so badly that I couldn't take it. And I was 23. I didn't know how to do things any better. So I decided to cut my losses, move to Bombay. And as I said, modeling was doing completely fine. See, you can see I can be a great model. If you guys want me to model for your projects, I'm happy to do so. But didn't make enough money, so that also kind of tanked and failed. And that year, I kind of blanked out of my life. Then back to this guy here, 2017, when Anant Ahuja moved from Mumbai to Delhi to start Bridge Studios, which is at times Bridge. As I said, I overspent money on a project and got fired. Then, Bakheda was doing all right with Avid, and the pandemic hit. Avid decides to fuck off because cash. He has 2 children, he has to take care of them, and he lives in Singapore. So, Bakheda as a global agency, Singapore and India, gets acquired by Moonrabbit. Not acquired, acqui-hired. And I am not very interested in working for another agency. So I was like, I'm going to work my ass off and buy the Indian entity back from him. And we just recently rechristened Bakheda Studios to Irregular Studios, which is now a part of the alliance. So the point being that be an optimist. Shit will happen. You will have to go through it, and it will continue to happen. There's nothing that you can do about it. All you can do is just go through the lows and enjoy the highs. Lesson number 4. No brief ever in the history of briefs has had an easy solve. If you feel that the brief is too easy to solve, that's the wrong brief. Please look for the problem, the real problem, because you'll have to rework it. And classic example of this is while we were rebranding Insider, Paytm had taken a major stake in the ticketing platform. And the main pain point that they had was that the masthead banners looked very ugly because they didn't have any control over it. They were coming from people are putting their events up, so they can't really creatively control what's happening. So I suggested a badging system to bring in some kind of consistency that this can be slapped on top of the image. But making this also takes time because you have to type it out, you have to align the rectangles on top of each other, stack them up properly. So we felt this is too easy a solve, let's push ourselves a little more. We worked with their engineering team and built like multiple banner builders, versions of it, and this was the final one where anybody, you don't have to be a designer, designers should be spending their time, useful time on stacking up boxes. You can literally like write the headline, the byline, and whatever booking, finding, buying call to action that you want here, and change colors. We made the preset color combinations. So it, again, as I said, there is no easy brief. You just have to look for the real problem in the brief and address that. Don't just look at beautifying shit, actually look at the core problem. Lesson number 5, be passionate and do good fucking work. If you're not passionate about your job or your work in general, you will always attract the kind of work that you are not passionate about. So you have to be fully into it. And this project, I spent, I think, the most amount of my time on. It's Tamras. I'll just go back to it. It's a gin. You'd be able to find it in the thekas, liquor shops, wine shops. I spent 2 years, started at the onset of pandemic, launched in January 2022. I had sleepless nights because things were getting shut. We were producing the bottle in France. From understanding how to make the lettering piece, which is custom made for the brand, and then some other brands coming in and changing the name altogether, then redrawing the logo halfway through, printing. This is screen printed on the bottle itself, the artwork. How to screen print on a bottle, understanding the process, how many colors can be done in one round, to making pop-up bars, creating 3D renders. Even like I was obsessed with making tote bags for a brand. Like I shouldn't be, that's not good ideal business practice, but it was one of those projects that I had nothing else to do and I got obsessed with. So by the end of it, you know what? The clients saw the love that I had for the project and they reciprocated it in ways of whatever I suggested. They were like, cool, let's do it. And they were not shy of doing any of the things that we suggested. They spent a lot of money on making these pop-up bars, I have to say. And see here, right here, the day it launched, I was probably happier than the clients that it has launched because that's all I dreamed of during the pandemic. Lesson number 6, break the rules. Nothing in this world is static. Everything is ever evolving. It's changing at the speed of light before you can even think of it. So if there is something, that grid, that rigidness that you want to break, stretch that type, use a gradient, be a bloody maximalist, stretch images, do that. Why not? But know how to do the other things also first to be able to do this. This is a class that I taught at MIT Indore, which was about deconstruction of typography. And the brief was fairly simple. It's based on David Carson's ideology that don't sell me your favorite drink with a poster, but actually use everything that's on the label of that drink to create the feeling that you have when you have that drink in your mouth. So I think these kids did a fantastic job of their favorite drinks. Some of them were weird, but these are the ones that I really liked. And I think it's important to do these kind of things because this is what keeps us afloat than just the regular day-to-day grind that we have. Do not fucking compare. The grass is always greener on the other side. You might feel that what I'm doing is not that great, what the other person is doing and posting on Instagram is better, or I could have been in that place and could have done a better job. But you don't know their circumstances, they don't know what you are going through. So if you are comparing yourself to make yourself feel better about anything, this is 2015 Anant, who was down and out because he couldn't run a company, and this is 2017 running marathons and whatnot. These two people aren't same. if I can claim that these two people aren't the same people, how can one compare themselves to anybody else and feel shit or better about themselves? So the point is, do not compare yourselves to anybody else and your work. Listen more, talk less. I have a fantastic team. Purnima is right here. She's right there. um, One thing that I've realized after working in this field for almost a decade now is that you cannot know everything. You cannot be the master of everything. You cannot be the all-seeing hand. You have to let go of your ego and listen to everybody around you. And it is in that moment when you will realize that there is so much more to pick up from other people than you can ever otherwise. And I mostly let that happen after I've done the morning reviews. I ask everybody what exciting have they done over the weekend. And that's how I also keep myself afloat with all the new terms. Salulu. Oh, Delulu is the new Salulu, you know? So yeah, listen. And the moment you feel that you're the smartest person in the room, it's about time that you change rooms. And have a nice goodbye before you do that. Don't leave on bad terms. Collaborate. Compete as much as you want to, but don't compete within the house. This is a house. This is us. We should be supporting each other. We should be building together, and that's why compete at a global stage if you want to. But collaborate as much as you can. Failed startups, whatever I've done, whatever I've been through. While I was trying to compete, while I was trying to be like, oh, I want to be published, my work needs to be out there, I want to be a better, bigger designer than XYZ, I always went home thinking, having this sinking feeling that I will never be better. But in that moment when I realized that I can actually work with these people and do good work, so the Tamras bar that you saw has been done with somebody else, the Tamras tote bag has been done by somebody else, the type was made by somebody else. I just happen to be the person who got these people together to collaborate. It's not like I know everything or I can do everything, but I have a decent eye, I have a skill to get people together under one roof and make shit happen. And that's why collaboration is the key. So Irregulars is pretty much built on the principle of collaboration, that we are for the community, we want to build for the community, and we want to be around in whatever means we can be. We're still fairly young, we're still fairly new, trying to do what we can and learning every day, but the most important thing is collaboration. The last lesson of the day is love yourself like Kanye loves Kanye. Kanye is not the best example for what mental health should look like. But look out for yourself. It's important to, feel mentally sane or be in a happy place, because if your brain is happy, there will be good things happening around you and you will do good work. If your brain is not happy, there will be bad things happening and you'll be doing shit work. So look out for yourself in this process. Put yourself first and then see. When you are in a plane, you're supposed to put on the oxygen mask first before you put it on to somebody else. So apply this to everyday work principles also. And no matter what you do, you will still be this guy who will be standing in a corner of a room saying, they don't know I made that fucking logo. Just embrace it. And remember this guy? Anant's dad? That's him. So yeah. That's where it ends. I hope I have done good for time. I am open to questions. Thank you.